Good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Rishwain, and welcome to LegalTech Live. With me today is my guest, Ivan Rasic. I'm sorry, Ivan, is it Rasic or Rasic?
It's Rasic, but I guess that's difficult to pronounce. Don't worry about that.
Okay. No, I should have asked you that one a few minutes ago, and I meant to. Ivan is the CEO and co-founder of LegalTrek, found at legaltrek.com. Ivan holds a double degree LLM in law and finance from Goethe University in Frankfurt. I may have mispronounced that as well. He's a lawyer and an intrapreneur. This is interesting. Intrapreneur at Philip Morris Services. He developed a tool for enhancing communications between the company's general counsel and its outside attorneys. He serves as a business mentor to Law Without Walls, a community of entrepreneurs, legal practitioners, law professors, and law students focused on innovation in the legal sector. He is here with us at LegalTech Live today because we focus on disruption and innovation in legal startups or legal tech in the legal community. With that, Ivan, I'm sorry for the mispronunciations and for my Americanism to begin with. And with that, please add to it. What have I left out? Tell me a little bit about yourself and your background before we get into LegalTrek.
Thanks, Nick. Pretty much you covered most of the highlights from my background. You're correct. I'll just correct the pronunciation. It's a Goethe University from Frankfurt. As you spotted it quite well, it was double degree focused on corporate law and corporate finances from the business point of view. I guess this was also the reason where my passion towards business came along, and somehow it mixed with I'm first and foremost lawyer by education and my vocation, so I have lots of sympathy and empathy for my fellow colleagues because I can relate to the struggle that all of us had at the time, and also after graduating, what kind of struggle awaits in the legal market. So kind of mixing those two, somehow it came out as my mission, call it if you like, to just help legal industry, not to disrupt it in a sense, but help it reinvent itself and actually keep up the pace with the whole business world from other sectors, right?
Correct. And I think you're right. We use the term disruption here in America almost flippantly, and it's not really disruption. It's more of reinvention or innovation and increased efficiency and so forth. And so you are a lawyer by vocation or by trade, and at a certain point you decided somehow to improve upon the processes that you were experiencing in your own practice.
Well, this is true. From very beginning, I was always dedicated part of my workday to seeing what can be done in a different yet better way, so I don't have the same struggle that I had yesterday. So from the earliest days, straight out of college, and when I was even doing my first traineeship, I dedicated a huge chunk of my time towards this. And also later on, when I was working in-house, as you nicely spotted, let's say 50% of my time was dedicated to a project where I was standardizing report processes between the general counsel and the outside counsels who were providing reports. So somehow throughout the whole of my work experience and professional life, this was a big part, and it remained, I would say, a big passion.
Okay, all right, and that is kind of the passion that drove you into creating LegalTrek.com. Is that right?
Exactly. That's true.
So LegalTrek, tell us what it is and what it does, because my understanding from reading the website is that it is a legal software, but it appears to be, a pretty significant legal software that does a lot of things. So tell us about it.
Thanks. So it is what you saw on legaltrek.com. It is obviously a software as a service. and it is a software that you can call a practice management software. But in a sense, I would say there are three pillars that are, let's say, very important, crucial for LegalTrek. And the first one is obviously the billing, because we see billing overall, starting from negotiating with clients and later on to collecting, a huge problem in the legal industry across the pond, across the whole board. Specifically in these thermal times when there is a whole debate: do we keep the billable hour? Do we trash it? What are the alternatives, etc., etc. So there is a period of transition where basically you have to cater for all kind of sorts of fee arrangements and then package them, etc., etc. So we are very much focused on this problem, and this is a huge pillar for us, very important, and we see our clients also recognize it very much, and mostly they come for us because of this problem as a prevalent one. Then the second pillar is the workflow and organization of work. As you spotted quite nicely, we believe as a company that what you did yesterday you shouldn't be doing today. You should always be looking towards your own growth. So basically, if you have if you have been doing your business for a while, then you should certainly know how to, let's say, structure different processes and keep them somewhere as a know-how so you can simply reuse them and recycle them. So our workflow pillar is focused on that. And then finally, of course, there are lots of features built around those, but then, of course, the final, I would say, most significant pillar for us is invoicing, so you can easily get all, those invoices out and basically collect your fees and awards for your good work that you did for your clients.
Excellent, excellent. And now, what I saw in the tutorial, which I meant to, I posted it earlier before it got started, but I'm going to post it again. The tutorial video. You can track your clients. You can track the cases and the matters. You can track a whole lot of different things through the LegalTrek software. Is that correct? Tell me what else you get to, an attorney can track with the LegalTrek software.
Absolutely. Well, as I said, I mentioned previously, we are focused on corporate-oriented firms. So usually our users would be law firms with no less than 10 people. Okay. This is how the software was structured from the very beginning. Of course, there are borderline cases where there are even some smaller teams, but this is usually what we have in our client base. So basically, it's very important for those firms where you have a few partners and then you have fee earners to stay on top of all the projects and processes. Where are you at any given moment? Why is this extremely important beyond the obvious? Well, imagine your client calling you right now and ask you all sorts of things. How do you distinguish yourself? Well, by being able to answer them at the very moment via the phone that they have a pending of whatever coming up in the next few days. So what we our core values that we brought up personally as people and professionals, we've woven them into the software itself and in the company itself. And those core values are: you should be responsive, you should be transparent, and you should be able to create value and price for the value. So this is basically it.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's it. And so if I call you today and you're using LegalTrek software, you can pull up my file almost as a client relations management tool, as well as you can pull up my file, remind yourself about everything that you're working on for me. You can see if I've got an outstanding invoice. You can see what's calendared in my case. Is that right? Can you do all those things?
Even better, if, for example, you've called out today to ask about the status of your matter, we'll be able to tell you how are we with regards to the budget, how much from your deposit have we spent, how much are we left, do we foresee any overruns, how much we are, where are we at in terms of the time budget, and how many more steps we have until the very end of the delivery. But even better, you wouldn't need to phone in. Of course, you can. That's your choice as a client, but you could also log in remotely through our client portal and get all this information by yourself, having remote access.
Excellent, excellent. And that would then bring me to the next question. You, in our preliminary discussion, you talked about uh, a certain vertical that you guys service right now, a certain niche that you guys that LegalTrek services. You are located in Berlin, and thank you for being our first international legal tech guest. I appreciate that. But who are you serving? What is their practice generally right now?
Yeah. So as you said from the very beginning, our focus was on a specific niche within the legal industry. We call it a vertical within a vertical. I mean, we internally in a company, and we're focused on law firms of first of all, of a certain size. As I mentioned, no less than 10 people, which have corporate clients. So let's say sophisticated clients in corporate and related practices who as such always prefer to be in control and know what is the status of our project, are we on the budget, what is the turnaround time, do we have any delays, etc. And since this is a specific niche, we recognize, I would say 90 to 95% matching patterns in practices of those kind of firms across the board in Europe, in United States, in Asia Pacific, in Latin America. LegalTrek is hence built around that logic of work and logic of negotiating with clients.
Okay, and so the one thing that I thought of from a U.S. based standpoint is why would I choose to use this LegalTrek software in my practice when it seems to be built by somebody outside the U.S. But when I went through and watched the tutorial video, it appears that the practice that you guys are targeting, the corporate practice, corporate law, international-based transactional issues, it seems pretty standardized from a firm who's maybe in Australia to a firm who's in Brussels. Much of the practice is very similar. Is that correct? Or the practice in this niche?
You're absolutely right. I would just add one small thing. So usually kind of clients that approach us have offices across.
Okay.
So, for example, a German-based firm may have their own U.S. counterpart, or I don't know, have also a partner in Spain. Sometimes their network of law firms, of independent brands, that want to centralize and have their own back office to become much more than alliance of firms. They are scattered throughout Europe or maybe US, Europe, etc. So those kind of firms will approach us as well.
Okay, all right. It looks like we have a question from Nicole in the chat here. She asks, what has been the biggest hurdle you've come across while getting the word out about LegalTrek?
Well, this is an interesting question. For myself, it has been always interesting, and this is what I repeatedly do nowadays as well, is to discover people who are, let's say, very vocal in doing what we try to do. So basically advocating for those values in the legal industry, which are standard for all the successful industries around. So you don't get too many people of that kind. So it was very interesting for me early on to research and to immerse myself into such community to basically get to know all these thought leaders. And this is always interesting nowadays to continue to do this as well. I wouldn't call this a hurdle in a sense, but I think it's pretty important, like to basically, if you have something that you believe in and you want to be very loud about it, of course, you should also be humble enough to see if what you're saying makes sense, and then this is where all other people who are in this community, their importance comes along. Excellent.
Yeah, and we've noticed that since the beginning of LegalTechLIVE, which was basically September of last year, that many of us who are in the legal tech industry, and we're starting to really band together to help kind of cross promote each other, because we see the advances, and others, we want others to take advantage of the advances in the community. Another question. This comes from Jay Giuliano, who is a founder of PatDeck LLC, which is a patent software. It makes patents cooler and easier, is explained to me in the past. And he asks, is there any particular legal sector that you find LegalTrek's existing customers focus on? So any particular sector that your customers focus on? And I see our co-host has joined. I'm going to unlock the seat in case he's ready to come in. But any particular legal sector that your customers currently focus on?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And usually it's a few sectors that revolve around corporate law. What is very particular for those sectors is that they're mostly transactional. So it's mostly transactional attorneys and law firms that find lots of value in LegalTrek and what we do, the way we do it. So usually those transactional fields would be corporate law, M&A, tax advisory, and alike practice areas. Then again, depending on your niche sector, it can be commercial law within a maritime industry or something. So you can go very niche around it, but the principles and the principal practice areas revolve around transactions, corporate, commerce, M&As as well.
Okay, excellent. So that's, here we go. Here comes Ivan Rakelin, my co-host.
Hey, Ivan, how are you?
Hey, Ivan. Meet Ivan. Welcome to meet you.
I wasn't sure if you were around or not today, man.
No, I'm around.
All right.
So I apologize for being a little late. I had a different meeting that I had to take.
Sure.
Not at all.
Sure. We were just answering a couple of questions from our guests, Nicole and Jay, about hurdles for LegalTrek, and also the last question was who are the biggest particular legal sectors, and it seems corporate commerce and mergers and acquisitions seem to be areas that you are focused on at this point. Is that right, Ivan?
Exactly.
Which Ivan?
My guest, Ivan, the one who was on time. The one who was on time. What have you had any hurdles? This is kind of a addition to Nicole's question. Have you found any hurdles in getting the message out internationally?
Basically depends who you want to target. So, and depends which channel you want to use. We pretty much we use a lot content marketing. So the biggest hurdle in the beginning when you want to use content marketing is, defining your own voice, the niche you want to write about. And then it's learning a lot, but also having your own point of view based on your own experience. So like with anything, you have to start from the very bottom. So, and then it's just piling up. It's, just using those building blocks, and eventually everything finds its place. Excellent.
And I have to say that your associate, Lena, I think she goes by Lynn on occasion, because she had mentioned that to me. But so Lynn had reached out to us. She's been very, very vocal in trying to get you to come and join us. And so you guys are out going to get it. You see what the goal is, and you're reaching out for it. And we appreciate that because I think that's what it takes to get some attorneys to change their minds about using some of these innovative technologies in the practice of law.
Absolutely. I mean, this is also part of our core DNA value in the company. If you see a goal, you should go towards it. There are no excuses, essentially. If your goal is to help all those great people in the world, and I now mean attorneys, achieve their own goals, then you have no excuse but not to try it and not to give your best.
Right. And you guys have a blog. Are you active in the blog in explaining what LegalTrek is and what it does for attorneys? Is that what you said? You've taken sort of a content marketing approach to helping people learn and understand this your service and your software. Are you active on the blog? I know that you're active on Twitter and LinkedIn and other social platforms. How about tell me about the blog?
We mix the topics. I mean, we speak, of course, about our product and the values that those provide, but we speak quite a lot about how the industry changes, because, as I mentioned, the mission is to reinvent the legal industry, not to disrupt it. And then if we have this opportunity to have a 360 degrees view on what is going on in different organizations, legal organizations around the world, be it traditional firms, new law firms, just general trends, then we give our best to transpose those experiences and see what are the key points that the audience should take. So most of our pieces of content are around what pundits say in the industry. So this way, if you see our ebook on alternative fee arrangements, you will see lots of guest authors over there, and some pieces are our own. Okay. Then our latest ebook on getting new clients. This is also based on our know-how from working in the legal industry, and also as a solution vendor. Then again, if you take a look on my LinkedIn page, you will see lots of articles are related on how the business of law changes and what are the new business models that are upcoming in the legal industry, which in their own right are not that very much new. I mean, those business models have existed for decades, even centuries in the general corporate world. But I think it's now that the legal industry starts to recognize those. So just to sum up, our blog and our content very much revolves around the industry itself. How does it changes, and what are the opportunities that law firms can leverage in those changing times. And then, of course, our software and our solution is geared towards supporting them in those, in their mission to reinvent themselves.
Excellent. And you mentioned something that reminded me of some things that I've seen in your content recently, since we scheduled this. You guys, whereas we call it legal tech oftentimes here in the U.S., you guys have used new law. Is that sort of the idea that you're promoting? So as opposed to the disruptive or anything like that, you're calling it new law. Is that the idea that you're trying to get across to your users?
Yes, this is a terminology that was coined by Beaton Capital with their New Law, New Rules book that came out in, I believe it was 2014 or early 2015, but the term was coined much earlier, I believe in 2013 by one of their analysts. Okay. And what new law represents in their view, and I would agree, it represents this new business model in the legal industry. So there is no unique definition of what new law is. It's simply, we know what new law is not, and this is the traditional way of delivering legal services by the hour with a huge pyramid of associates, etc. So the new law basically focuses on all the alternative ways and models that you can leverage to deliver a legal service. So it is let's say a big umbrella a term which can gather even some law firms that have innovative models, but also can gather underneath some software solutions which use some algorithms to deliver legal services whatsoever. So yes, we write about the new law. We are not promoting the new law as per itself. We are writing about it because we see it has great examples which legal industry can learn a lot from. Law firms can learn a lot from new law, and this is the message that we try to gather around and spread.
Excellent. And I have one more question from Nicole here, and then I'm sure Ivan, Ivan, my co-host Ivan, probably has a question for you. Nicole asks, and I think what she's referring to is in Berlin or in Europe. Are you seeing a lot of entrepreneurial attorneys, or do you see is there growth in the entrepreneur or the attorney who is innovating, or is there growth in that section, or is it many who are still practicing in the traditional sense? Sorry,
it is amazing question, and I will get to it right now. So basically, there is this adage that lawyers are traditional, conservative, laid back, comfortable in what they do, the way they do. But I will tell you, I met so many innovative lawyers recently, and those it's related to a generation. I wouldn't say those lawyers are necessarily very young. I met a lot of lawyers who have lots of experience from some other companies, some of those even being the Big Four, which now came out and formed their own companies, and they operate in some jurisdictions in Europe, which, by the way, these jurisdictions are not UK. UK has their own ABS, Alternative Business Structure Act, so they can have alternative business structures over there. But some of those attorneys I saw recently in Spain, where they are operating their company for delivering legal and audit services as a joint stock company. They have the shareholders meeting and board of directors meeting, and they are talking about the expansion plans, much like any corporation. And they apply all the great principles on project management, on creating value, customer development, everything that any good, successful company does. So, and this is just one example that I mentioned now, but I see a lot of movements, especially in Western Europe nowadays, towards the entrepreneurial thinking in attorneys.
Excellent. Yeah, very interesting. That's and it's nice to see, because we know quite a few entrepreneurial attorneys here in the U.S. who are doing things a little bit different. Ivan, co-host Ivan, do you have any questions for our guest?
All right, real quick. Can you hear me fine?
Yep.
So let me introduce myself, Ivan Raiklin. Yes, so I'm co-host with Nick Rishwain of the LegalTechLIVE show. And my question is...
Oh, you froze on us, Ivan.
I can hear you guys.
You're sitting.
It's a little bit... Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, so basically my question is a little bit off topic and not specifically to your particular business, but I wanted to ask you, I was reading recently in the ABA journal, the American Bar Association journal, about how artificial intelligence will disrupt or transform the legal profession. I just wanted to hear your thoughts based on your involvement in the community, what your thoughts are in terms of how AI, from your perspective, would be initially disrupting the legal profession in the next, say, 12 to 18 months.
In the next 12 to 18 months. So I would say, okay, so we are obviously not reaching singularity point in 12 to 18 months. So this is out of the question, I guess, I hope, unless there is something huge that we don't know. Within such a recent period, I don't expect, honestly, AI to take away the legal profession and the need for attorneys in the complete, completely. Essentially, there is always going to be a judgment call that you, as a partner or as a premium service professional, need to make in a critical point based on many factors, on your experience, on the current situation, on your network. One thing that AI doesn't have today, and likely is not going to have anytime soon, is the network. So basically, in high sensitive cases where there is even some kind of like political influence, where it can take the development of a case in one or the other direction, then obviously AI doesn't stand a chance against an experienced attorney who is very well connected in certain jurisdictions. So AI, if anything, they're going to take, I would say, the low value pieces of a pie, the kind of work that can be outsourced and automatized to a large extent. But I think this kind of work should be automatized, because why would you waste human capital at all if you can use the human capital for something much more effective, much more productive. So basically, I think there was lots of talking in the industry, and lots of attorneys fear the AI or the automation, or like the technology is going to destroy so many jobs. No, technology is going to maybe take away some jobs. It's usually like industrial revolution did this, but basically what every industrial revolution does in the end is it it liberates the human capital to do something else, to rise above. And I believe the same is going to happen with attorneys. So you're relieved of your mundane tasks because of some app or whatever. Awesome. So there's so much time that you have now that you can use to progress yourself and rise up as a professional.
Excellent. You have a follow-up?
That's very good answer.
Yeah, very good answer. Did you have a follow-up on LegalTrek?
I pretty much think the same thing. As far as the follow-up on LegalTrek, no, I just wanted to get a sense of his perspective. You got one?
I do. Where do you see LegalTrek, let's say, at the end of this year? And so we got about 7 months left in the year. Where do you guys want to be? What is your major plan for this year alone?
In this year, we plan from the product point of view. We have planned a few major releases, which I would rather not announce right now.
Okay.
There'll be announcements in our blog well in advance, and I will drop you a line in advance so you can see for yourselves. But we plan to introduce several modules which further advocate what we stand for, and this is like transparency, predictiveness in terms of the delivery of service, alternative billing modules, and everything that basically helps attorneys and law firms create value and then capture value. So this is from the product point of view. From our general company point of view, I would just say, again, there's some upcoming things. I'm very excited about those, but I'd rather, still keep my breath before announcing those. We are also positioned much more in the space of, let's say, helping law firms, not just giving them the technology, but also helping them use the technology in the, from the business point of view. Okay, so we will going to be releasing lots of content in this regard. So for us, it was always very important that, okay, there is a software component, sure, but is there a why to it? If there is a why, like why would you use it, then of course you're going to use it. So the why to any software is business. And we are putting more emphasis and more, let's say, we're going to become more vocal on the business of law point of view. And these are basically the two things that are very important for our company.
Excellent.
In this year, obviously.
Yeah. And Jay Giuliano has a question here on the side. He wanted to know if you can share this, what the one feature LegalTrek's customers have asked for that you maybe not yet able to provide, and maybe another, if you can say, what's the one that you've been asked for that you've declined because it's not within your focus at this point?
Yeah, these are great questions. You
don't have to answer anything if you're uncomfortable answering.
I'm just rolling the lists inside of my mind. Like there's so many questions when you do customer discovery. Jay, I don't want to sidetrack or anything, but like honestly, when you do customer discovery, and we constantly do, constantly try to get all those great feedback before developing anything new. You should be very careful how you do customer discovery. Otherwise, and you should distinguish between must-haves and just the cool wish list to have. So we have discarded lots of feature requests simply because, in our experience, and then also after talking with other prospects and clients, we basically saw that these features will not, in the end, bring the core value that we stand for. Okay, so I wasn't very specific right now, Jay. Sorry for this, because there are so many things, and I cannot really think of the best example right now. But we have it very frequently that there are requests, and we see that the value is not universal, with this one feature. Okay.
Great. Thank you. And then where my follow up to this year is what do you see in the next 3 to 5 years for LegalTrek? Where would you like the company to be?
We already do really good work in terms of positioning ourselves as an innovative company, again, from the standpoint of the business of law. And we just want to continue riding this trajectory and be, let's say, even more recognized across the pond about the company, let's say, the most innovative company in the legal industry space. Of course, in terms of the software as a service and the business of the law model.
Excellent. And that puts us at about 35 minutes. We have about, I like to do it in about 45 minutes. Does anybody else have any questions on the side? Jay said, thank you. That was still a very good answer, even though you couldn't think of a specific example of questions. Any other questions on the side for Ivan, CEO of LegalTrek.com? Or are there any other questions from my co-host?
So while folks are contemplating their questions, I have a couple of questions. They may have been answered or asked early on in the show, but you're originally from former Yugoslavia, is that correct, Ivan?
Absolutely. You nailed it. Exactly. I'm actually, at the time, was it
Serbia?
When I was born, actually, it was still a Socialistic Federative Republic of Yugoslavia, the Tito's Yugoslavia, when I was born. So that's big.
FRY, right?
Exactly. So you nailed it. Yes.
I figured that much with the last name. It was in that area of Southern Europe, so Southeastern Europe.
Exactly. But the Republic Serbia, yes, from Serbia originally.
Okay.
And currently in Berlin. And that's where. And you guys are headquartered in Berlin, am I correct?
Exactly. Yes.
All right. And then I had one more question that I'd like to ask is, you guys have been great in promoting the show when leading up to it. You and Lena and Mr. Steele, Alex is his name. Mr. Steele. You guys have been really awesome in promoting the show preliminarily. What can we do to help you to promote? And because that's what LegalTech does, LegalTechLIVE does, and that's what I'd like to see in the LegalTech community is some cross promotion. How can I help? How can we help?
Absolutely. Well, for us, it's very important to see, if you guys also advocate the kind of things that we stand for, and then I will drop you a line. We have some upcoming webinars. They're still not announced, and I will just drop you a line when the schedule is cleared out. So maybe you can just give us a shout out, or I will be releasing a full schedule for this year of upcoming webinars, and mostly we're going to be talking about what we spoke today, the business of law, and how you can actually use software tools to distinguish your business of law.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'm more than happy if you have Lynn reach out to me, or if you tweet me, and I'm happy to put it in promotional tools. We do that for others who have also been on the show, and it's we think it's a good practice. That's how we all grow together. So let me know.
Absolutely, and likewise. I mean, if there is anything, please just keep us in the loop with other interviews that you have planned. Very, very happy to participate as an audience.
Excellent.
Have a chance to tag along.
So I got one more question. So Ivan, to close things out, I wanted to ask you: do you attend any sort of conferences or events here in the United States that are related to the legal profession that we may be able to bump into you while you're out here? Or can you recommend any that are in this line of work that are in Europe? I know in Europe on some of these things, it's not as developed, but I think in Germany, it's very developed in the tech space.
There are some upcoming things rolling out in Germany, which agenda is still not cleared out. So I will have more information in 2 weeks, and I will drop you a line. I think what is developing here, you will find very much useful. Other than this, I also see lots of conferences sprouting out throughout the whole Europe. But I think maybe they are not maybe reaching out too much, or maybe they're only regionally focused. Like, for example, a few weeks ago I was in Malaga, and then at the same time there are some conferences in Barcelona, in Spain over there. Then again you have lots of legal tech conferences in Netherlands lately, a lot. And Germany, there are also going to be some interesting events over there. Again, as I said, I'll have more information in 2 weeks and I will drop you a line.
Excellent. Excellent.
So it's not only UK. I guess UK is maybe being the most vocal, but continental Europe is, like rising when it comes to events in this space.
Very cool. Excellent. So I did not know that about the Netherlands. So that's one of the things that I love so much about doing this show is learning about the other things that are happening in legal tech. And I was thanking co-host Ivan. I was thanking guest Ivan for being our first international interview. I know you've done others in your other shows, but this is our first legal tech international interview. So I thought that was great, and that they stayed in.
No, it's great because you get a little bit myopic. You focus on a profession, and the legal profession is so jurisdictionally based. A lot of times it's just a state specific in the United States, and sometimes obviously federal practice focuses on national laws, and so you still only focus on U.S. law. And this is a good opportunity to showcase how with technology moving forward, it may not be the case moving forward where we're so focused on a small chunk or portion of the planet. And this is, I'm glad you came on. So this is excellent.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. I have one last question to wrap it up, and it actually stems from a question earlier or a comment you made earlier. Laws Without Walls. What is it all about? It sounded like a nonprofit or something like that you were involved in, a charitable organization. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, absolutely, and very happy to. So, Law Without Walls is an initiative from School of Law from Florida, and I'm using this opportunity to say hi to Michelle Di Stefano, who is the initiator behind the Law Without Walls. And it started out as, in first iterations as a brick and mortar event, but then it spread out to its X edition. So there is a LVAW and LVAW X. LVAW X is purely virtual, online, and basically, I think it gathers maybe now even 50 universities and law schools throughout the whole world. And basically, it's kind of like a platform where you can connect the students of law, usually in their senior years, maybe sometimes not so senior, on one hand side, and on the other hand side, the mentors and attorneys, lawyers from obviously from the legal industry. And the purpose is to help students get some entrepreneurial taste, something that we don't get in law schools at all. Mm-hmm. So students have limited time to do the project of work, as it is referred to in the Law Without Walls community. And they have assigned team of mentors. Usually it's 4 to 5 mentors coming from different backgrounds. So one entrepreneur, one from academia, one from a practicing attorney, and one student from a previous iteration. So it's 4 mentors. And the purpose is just to, review where the project is, give pieces of advice, how they should do it, etc., etc. And then there is a final event where the teams of students present their projects. So this is the purpose of the Law Without Walls. It is completely non-profit as far as I know. And I had a wonderful experience meeting up with students and basically, helping them out, but also learning from them in the whole process.
Very cool. Very cool. That is excellent. And you're absolutely right. There's not a lot of entrepreneurial exposure in law school here in the U.S. either, although they are changing it somewhat. That is all I have for today. Did you have, my guest, Ivan, did you have anything else that we didn't cover that you'd like to add about LegalTrek.com? And please tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, it's I will definitely let you know, but most of the time we are in here and there, etc. It's a lot of travel. Expect some cool news from us, guys. I'll be happy to share with you, and you'll be very kind to invite me here today. And thank you a lot for having me. This is really awesome experience, and looking forward to keeping in touch and to being a part of your community.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you for joining our community. Thanks for being here.
So, did you introduce him, Nick, yet to our our live streaming guru there from Germany called Alex Kahn.
No, I have not introduced him to Alex Kahn.
Where in Germany are you located?
He's in Berlin. I'm not sure where Alex is.
Alex is from München.
Okay.
From Munich. Okay, cool. I was in Munich a few months ago in February. Might sometimes also go there. What's his name again?
It's the Twitter handle is one Alex Kahn. One Alex Kahn.
Great.
Where are you?
And he is very active in the live stream community as Ivan and I are, and he's we've seen him at a number of recent social media and live streaming events in the U.S. So might reach out to him.
He's probably one of the top 5 guys in terms of followership on Periscope. So he's a fairly large influencer within the live streaming space.
Awesome.
I have a picture of him in my arms that I'm going to push up on Facebook. I cradled him in my arms in front of the.
It's not a picture you're carrying with you at all times, is it? You don't have it with you right now, do you?
Why, you want to see it?
Anyway, then.
No, it's on my phone.
I am Nick Rishwain. Thank you all for being here for Legal Tech Live today with our guest, Ivan Rasic. Did I get it closer that time? Rasic.
Close enough. Thank you.
Rasic. And Ivan Rakelin here as well.
And thank you very much for being here today, everybody. We'll see you next time on Legal Tech Live. And have a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you, guys.